Have you ever noticed that when people feel threatened by someone, they rarely attack them alone? They attack in groups, especially when that person has something they want, or worse, is everything they secretly want to be. That is what the Jordyn Woods and Kardashian situation is about. I genuinely don't believe this entire situation was ever really about the cheating. Jordyn Woods was 21 years old. Yes, she made a mistake, and she should have been held accountable for her actions. I'm not saying she was completely innocent, but accountability and humiliation are two completely different things. And what has always bothered me about the situation is the way grown women reacted to a 21-year-old girl. We are talking about women who were already in their 30s, mothers, established adults with years more life experience than Jordyn. And instead of simply cutting ties with her and moving on, the situation became this massive public spectacle. And that's where I started asking questions, because if you generally believe somebody's beneath you, why do you need an entire group to destroy them? If you're mature, confident, and secure in yourself, you can simply say, "You disappointed me, we're done," and move on. You don't need to publicly humiliate them, turn everyone against them, and then make sure the whole world knows that you've rejected them. But when someone actually makes you feel threatened, that's when things get interesting, because people don't usually organize themselves to destroy somebody they don't perceive as a threat. And I think Jordyn represented a very particular kind of threat. She's a young black woman, beautiful, popular, had her own identity, and extremely close to Kylie Jenner. She was already inside the Kardashian-Jenner world without actually being a Kardashian. And she represented something that is much bigger than the Tristan Thompson situation. She represented Black beauty. Let's talk about that, because we cannot talk about the Kardashian empire without talking about their relationship with Black aesthetics. For years, the family has been associated with an aesthetic that has included exaggerated curves, fuller lips, traditionally Black hairstyles, ethnic ambiguity, and the so-called slim thick body. Now, Black women didn't invent having curves, but there is a very clear cultural conversation around the way features historically associated with Black women have been treated differently depending on who possesses them. Black women have historically been mocked, sexualized, and even discriminated against for features that later became fashionable when they appeared on celebrities who weren't Black. And the Kardashians have been at the center of that conversation for years. There's literally academic research examining the Kardashian family's relationship with Black aesthetics and cultural appropriation. The rise of the Kardashian body also coincided with a massive cultural shift toward the slim thick ideal and the popularity of procedures like the Brazilian butt lift. Researchers and commentators have specifically connected the Kardashian phenomenon to the commercialization of body features associated with Black women. So let's put Jordyn into that picture, because Jordyn wasn't just some random woman Tristan cheated with. She was a gorgeous young Black woman. And then Tristan Thompson, the Black man Khloé had chosen, cheated with her. And this is where I think the racial dynamic becomes even more interesting, because imagine being a non-Black woman in a relationship with a Black man, and then having him cheat on you with a beautiful young Black woman. I'm not saying I can read Khloé's mind, I can't, but I think there's a very specific kind of arrogance that sometimes happens when a non-Black woman dates a Black man and starts believing that dating him somehow places her above Black women, and that's ridiculous. A Black man dating a non-Black woman does not mean Black women suddenly stop being attractive. It doesn't mean he has rejected Black women, and it certainly doesn't mean the woman he's dating has somehow defeated Black women. You chose to date one Black man, congratulations. That doesn't make you superior to an entire race of women. And this is also where I think people completely lose the plot when they talk about Tristan. Why do I say that? Because Tristan should have been held accountable far more than he was. He was the grown man in this situation. He was the one who was actually in a relationship with Khloé, and he made that commitment to her. And yet somehow, once again, the woman becomes the main target while the man gets another chance. And let's not forget, Khloé eventually got back together with Tristan. And I'm sorry, but you cannot convince me that there's nothing bizarre about that. You can be furious with Jordyn and cut her off, that's completely valid, but then you turn around and give Tristan another chance while publicly dragging the young Black woman he cheated with? That's the exact double standard I'm talking about. The man who actually owed you loyalty gets another opportunity, while the woman, especially a young Black woman, becomes the villain everyone is encouraged to hate. And that's why I think this situation goes beyond simple jealousy between women, because it feeds into that very ugly dynamic where a non-Black woman dating a Black man starts treating Black women like they're the competition. So when Jordyn entered that picture, I think it's completely fair to question whether race, beauty standards, jealousy, and competition were part of the dynamic here. Because she embodied an aesthetic and identity that the Kardashian brand has spent years being associated with. And when Blackness is desirable, Suddenly everybody wants pieces of it. But when the actual black woman enters the room, we're talking about something completely else. Because a black woman doesn't get to take her blackness off. She has to live with the social consequences of actually being black. And that matters. Jordyn wasn't trying to become a Kardashian. She didn't need to. She already had her own identity. I think sometimes that is exactly what makes people uncomfortable. Not somebody who desperately wants what you have, somebody who already possesses something you want. And let's go back to the age difference, by the way. Jordyn was 21, again, old enough to know right from wrong, but 21 is still 21. You're still figuring out who you are, learning boundaries. You're also learning how to navigate relationships, fame, friendships, intimacy, consequences, and adulthood. And instead of treating the situation like you made a terrible decision and now you have to live with the consequences, it became, let's destroy this girl's reputation and bully her. This should tell you everything you need to know about the Kardashians. They're definitely not allies. And you remember the group dynamic, right? Because Kylie was Jordyn's best friend. And Kylie did initially participate in distancing herself from Jordyn. Eventually though, Kylie and Jordyn reconciled in 2023 after their 2019 fallout. And I'm not angry at Jordyn for forgiving her. You can forgive somebody without forgetting what they did. But if I were Jordyn, I would never trust Kylie the exact same way again. Yes, she stayed initially quiet, but Kylie still showed her where she stood. You can love somebody, forgive somebody, and even be on good terms again. But that doesn't mean you have to give them the same access to you that they had before. I think that's something people should remember when they saw Kylie and Stacey at Jordyn's wedding. A lot of viewers were disappointed and questioned why they were there, especially because people remember what had been said and done during the fallout. And I understand that reaction. Jordyn is a grown woman now. She's moved on. The Kardashians moved on. But moving on doesn't mean forgetting. You can forgive somebody and still keep your distance. Because forgiveness without boundaries is just giving somebody the opportunity to hurt you the same way twice. What's also very beautiful for Jordyn is that she didn't disappear or become irrelevant. She didn't stay trapped in the identity of the girl who kissed Tristan Thompson, the serial cheater. Instead, she built her own career, her own brand, and continued living. And now she's married to New York Knicks basketball player Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm not bringing up her husband because a woman's ultimate success is finding a man. No, it's not that. My point is that the life everyone thought was going to collapse didn't collapse. She survived. That's what I think people underestimate about black women. You can embarrass us, exclude us, try to socially isolate us, make us the villain, even turn the internet against us, and we still rebuild. Because black women have been surviving rejection, exclusion, and humiliation long before the Kardashians were famous. So when I look back at the Jordyn Woods situation, I don't just see a cheating scandal. I see a much bigger conversation about beauty, race, power, jealousy, and competition between women. And I'm not saying Jordyn did nothing wrong. She did. She really did. But two things can be true at the same time. Jordyn can be accountable for a mistake, and the Kardashian response can still be excessive. Those things are not mutually exclusive. And I think that's what gets lost, because people act as though the only possible positions are Jordyn was completely innocent or Jordyn deserved everything that happened to her. No, I don't believe either extreme. I believe she made a mistake. I believe Khloé had every right to be hurt. And I believe the family had every right to distance themselves from Jordyn, but they didn't have to bully her. But to get back to the video's theme, the real question here is, why did her presence make so many people feel like she needed to be removed? The girl they tried to break wasn't broken. She just left the room and built a life outside of it. And I believe that's something the Kardashians didn't expect. You can imitate somebody's aesthetic, borrow their culture, profit from the things associated with them, but you can never fully become the woman you are trying to imitate. And you should never underestimate the resilience of the woman you're trying to replace. With that being said, thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please leave a like, and peace.